Okay, so let's take a look at this graphic organizer. This is really nice because you can use this on your quiz on Monday. So please keep this safe. Do not lose this. It shows you all of the different things that we've learned so far. So we're going to start with adding and subtracting monomials. This was the very first thing we learned in terms of monomials, was adding and subtracting. So the rule is combine like terms, don't change common variables and exponents. When we add and subtract, we do not change the variables. So here, 9x squared y minus 10x squared y is negative 1x squared y. Okay, we're going to cross off number 2. I'm not going to have you guys do that one. But negative 1x squared y. Do you see how we kept this the same all the way through? So it's the same thing as saying like 9x minus 4x. We have 9x minus 4x. That you guys know that that's 5x, right? Did we change the variable here, or do we keep it the same? We kept it the same. These x's just tell us, hey, these are similar. These are like terms, and we can subtract 9 minus 4, which is 5, and keep the x the same. In the same way, we can subtract 9 minus 10, which is negative 1, and keep these guys the same. Okay, so let's look at the next one. Product rule. So product rule says x to the a times x to the b. Remember, we add the exponents, x to the a plus b. And then, so if we use the rule that we just established over here, we're going to try this one. What's h squared times h to the 6th? Well, we're going to combine the 2 and 6, which we're going to add. So it's h to the 2 plus 6, which is h to the 8th. Okay. And then this next one right here, we're going to multiply negative 2 times 7. So negative 2 times 7 is negative 14. A squared, right here, a squared times a to the 3rd. Remember, we add exponents, so it's a to the 5th. And then we have b times b. And how many b's do we have now? We have 2, right? So it's b squared. B times b, remember, we always add those exponents. Okay, so that is your answer. When we have the power rule, we're going to multiply exponents. So it's going to be x raised to the a times b. So when when we look at this right here, do you see how it's 2 and 3? 2 times 3 is 6. So this is going to be x to the 6th power. Okay, for this one down here, we have to distribute this 2 to everything first. So I'm going to give that 2 to this, and I'm going to give that 2 to that 5 as well. So we have negative 2 squared. We have negative 2 squared. And then we have these two. We're going to multiply. M, 5 times 2 is 10, so m to the 10th, times m cubed. I just rewrote this piece over here. So negative 2 squared is 4. So I'm actually going to, because I don't have enough room, you guys can keep it on your paper if you want to remind yourself for the quiz, but I'm going to change it to a 4 here. And then I'm going to say equals. Remember, what do we do here with the exponents? This is when we add. Just like up here, h squared times h to the 6th is 2 plus 6. M to the 10th times m to the 3rd is 3 plus 10. So it's going to be 4 m to the 13th. Okay, quotient rule. Quotient rule is we're going to subtract from the bottom to the top. So it's going to be x to the a minus b. So let's practice with a couple examples. So first of all, you see how we have 27 over 42 here? Can we simplify that? Yes, we can actually divide the top and bottom both by 3. If you're not sure, always just plug in your calculator and see what the answer is. So you can just start dividing, like 27 divided by 2, which isn't going to work. And then you can try 27 divided by 3, and you're like, okay, that's 9. 42 divided by 3, that is 114. Okay. All right, and then we're gonna subtract up. So this is a 1, right? So I'm gonna subtract a 1 on top. So how many x's do I have left on top? I have 4 x's left. So x to the 4th. On this one down here, I have to multiply 2 and 2. So that's gonna be y to the 4th over y to the 4th. Whenever we have two of the same exponents on the top and bottom, like y to the 4th and y to the 4th, that's just going to equal 1. Okay, negative exponent rule. When we have a negative exponent, remember we move it to the bottom to make it positive, and we put a 1 on top. So let's take a look here. Let's see. Do you see how this is a negative right here? So this right here is a negative too. That means we're only putting this x on the denominator, because this 5 right here, this negative 5, is not being raised to a negative power. So we're going to keep that on top. It's not being raised to a negative power, so we're going to keep that on top. This x to the negative 2 is the one that is being raised to a negative power, so we're going to move that to the bottom and make it x squared to the positive 2. And then that's your final answer. Okay, so what about this? 4 over 8. Now that's not 2, it's 1 over 2. Okay, 1/2, because we can divide the top and bottom by 4. So 1/2, and then I'm always going to subtract up. So I'm going to subtract it's going to be k squared minus 5. I'm going to subtract my 5 from that 2 up there. So that's going to be 1k to the negative 3 all over 2. And then what do I do with this guy here? Well, it has a negative exponent, so I'm going to move it to the bottom. So 1 over 2k to the 3rd power, and that's your answer. Okay, whenever you have anything to the 0 power, remember it equals 1. So anything raised to the 0 power is 1. So if I have this, x to the 0 power, that piece right there equals 1. So I'm going to say 7, and I'm going to replace this x to the 0 power with 1. I know I'm multiplying here because 7 x to the 0, when a variable like this is next to a coefficient or a number right there, we're going to, they're multiplying. So we have 7 times x to the 0, which is the same thing as 1. 7 times 1 is just 7. Now here, we're going to distribute that 2. So we have w to the 8th, 4 times 2 is 8, over w to the 8th. Remember when we have one thing on top of the same thing, on top and bottom, on the numerator and denominator, it just equals 1.